Hi, today we're going to talk about the 5 different ways that parenting an adopted child is different from parenting a biological child. But wait, before you grab your pitchforks and come after me, just take a moment to listen to why this statement is true. Parenting an adopted child is different from parenting a biological child. That doesn't mean that the love is any different. That doesn't mean the day-to-day parenting is any different, but there are definitely differences that are important not to ignore as an adoptive parent. Okay, let's talk about the obvious one. An adopted person has 2 families, whether you like it or not. They have 2 sets of families. And particularly if you have an open adoption, you have a birth family that you are integrating into your family as an extended family, and you have to manage those relationships. So there's just more relationships to manage when you're looking at a child who's come to your family through adoption. And it's important not to ignore that your child has another family, and that doesn't do your child any service. It just may make you feel better that you can pretend this child was born to you, but the reality is they were not born to you. So it's important to remember and to acknowledge your child has 2 families. Number 2, biological children just have a sense of belonging. They have shared mannerisms, shared talents, shared biology. And it's not uncommon that persons who are adopted will feel like they never really belonged in their family. They feel like there's just something just different, and there's just a disconnect to their adoptive family. This is one of the reasons why open adoption can be so important to your child that you adopt, is because having connections to the biological family will help fill in those gaps of who do I look like? Just answering the question, why was I placed? But also, where did I get my musical abilities from? And they're also just able to just sit there and look at someone who looks like them, and they're able to see some of the same mannerisms that a biological child just already has being born into the family and that they don't even think about. So it's important to remember that it's not to say that you should tell your child, oh, look, we have red hair, you have red hair too. See how, don't pretend this child is biologically yours. Acknowledge that there are differences and embrace those differences. Number 3, generally, when you're born into a family, birthdays are a happy time. They're a joyful time. But for persons who are adopted, they can actually be a sad time, because it's a very concrete day that they know that someone else gave birth to them. And they may be thinking, particularly if there's not a relationship with the birth family, they may be thinking about their birth mom specifically on that day of, what was she feeling when she gave birth? Why did she place? And so it can bring up a lot of sadness when it's around their birthday, and also holidays too. So just being aware that birthdays and holidays are triggers for children or adults who are adopted, and just being aware of that and understanding that will go a long ways to helping your child. Number 4, a child who comes to you through adoption, even at birth, is experiencing trauma, being separated from their birth mother specifically. So just be aware and become a trauma-informed parent when adopting, so you can parent your adoptive child well. So it's your job as a parent to be sure that you ask your child occasionally about their adoption and how they're feeling about being adopted. A lot of times parents will say, yeah, my child just doesn't talk about adoption. And it may be because they think that they can't talk about adoption. They may be picking up on subtle cues that you are uncomfortable with talking about the topic. So it's your responsibility as a parent to make sure your child feels comfortable talking about themselves being adopted, and to leave that open door that they can ask questions whenever they want. So as a parent, we are big advocates of educating. So we believe in you reading books, taking online courses, talking to other adult adoptees just to find out their experience and to become educated about what it feels like to be a person who is adopted. And that will help you understand your child and also help you, as I said earlier, parent them well. And number five, I kind of alluded to this earlier, is just to acknowledge that a child who comes to your family through adoption is different. And that's okay. And just embrace that, because if you're going to pretend otherwise, you're only fooling yourself and you're not doing your child any service by pretending that they are a biological child. So just acknowledge their adoption as they grow, and you'll be all the better for it.